The Alps, and with over 100 peaks at 4,000 meters or more, it is the ultimate place to ride, design and test a mountain bike. Indeed, it's the very place where the Specialized Levo was developed. So we're going to go down there to take a closer look. So here we are in Cham in Switzerland, and it's home to 19 mechanical and software engineers from 7 different countries around the world. And to show me around is Dominic Gaia, who is the Global Business and Marketing Manager for Turbo Levo. Dom, nice to meet you.
Steve, pleasure meeting you.
Can you show us around?
Of course. Welcome to our Turbo Innovation Center here in beautiful Cham, Switzerland.
Dom, what gets me is why Europe? I mean, surely all the R&D for Specialized has been in Morgan Hill, California over the years, right?
Yeah,
why are we here?
That's correct. The reason why we are here in Switzerland, in Europe, is that back at the time when we decided to start with our e-bike business, the key e-bike market clearly was in Europe. The US market wasn't evolved at all, and it was crucially important for us to be at the core of the market where the business really happens, to be surrounded by the riders, to see what they are riding.
Hey, so what have we got here? This is the first Levo. This is the first printed Levo from what, 2011?
2013 okay, is right. The complete print out.
Hey, yes. I tell you what, Dom, you've come a long way since then, right?
Yeah. But even back at the time, I mean, this was really a forward-thinking design and integration piece back at the time. We had already with the very first generation Turbo Levo, we had a clear vision on how the product should be in mind and developed everything, each individual component and the frame accordingly to it. And yeah, what you see here is the very first real printed frame which we showed internally to our global markets.
Do you know what, Dom? I mean, we've seen the latest bike and it's really good, but I mean, it's not much different to the first bike, right?
Oh no. If you would know, if you tell that to our engineers and product managers.
What? You gotta be kidding me.
You kidding me, man?
Which are investing years of work to bring it to the next level.
And here it is, the latest Turbo Levo, Specialized lightest and best handling e-mountain bike to date. Now clearly it's going to take a load of geeks and boffins to develop this bike. In fact, there are 19 here in Switzerland alone. But if you think about it, there's probably hundreds of people worldwide involved in developing this bike. Marco Sonderegger is the product manager for the Turbo Levo. Marco, 2013, 2019, 5 years of development. Not much has changed, really.
What? You gotta be kidding me. Really?
Go back to the early days of e-bikes. When are we talking? 2010, 2011?
Well, the idea is we started like 2009, 2010. It was a small group of mountain bike riders, obviously. Jan, myself, we lived in Morgan Hill, and we kept bothering the mountain bike product managers in Morgan Hill to make an e-bike, and they called us nuts. And we tried a lot of e-bikes back in the day.
Why though? Why did you want to make an e-bike?
Well, because we realized quickly that with a little motor power, you can ride more trails. That was that eye-opening moment when you realize that you can hit the trail twice instead of once and still get an amount of fitness you want. It's like great.
I mean, that's the point, right? The point with an e-bike is it needs to handle like a traditional mountain bike.
Well, that's what we believe in, yes. We believe in that with adding a motor and the battery, the bike should still handle like a mountain bike.
Who made that decision back then? What were the conversations all about?
Well, our main goal was that if a rider on the trail sees you on an e-bike, that he doesn't realize that you have an e-bike, right? The main goal was to blend everything into a bike, so it rides and feels and looks like a bike too on top of that. Yeah. And obviously we wanted water bottle clearance. We like long rides, we need water on the trail, and by bolting on the battery where usually the water bottle fits, that was back in the day not an option for us. So we went the long route to make a custom battery integrated into the tube.
Vincent, have you got a minute? For sure. Hey, listen, you got a motor, you got a battery. It must have been pretty simple getting that motor and that battery to fit into the down tube of a mountain bike? Because, I mean, let's face it, it was just made for it, right?
You kidding me, man? We had to redesign everything, like motor, battery, frame, everything.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
So, come on, it can't have been that difficult.
Not that difficult, you mean like remodeling everything, figure out new carbon construction, new ways to attach motor, new ways to attach batteries, making it happen in a large scale.
Okay, one thing there. Why do you mean new carbon construction? Why was there new carbon construction? You didn't just simply cut a hole in the bottom and slot it in then?
No, that just wouldn't hold. I mean, you have to like rethink everything, like how do you transfer load in the frame, how you hold that motor secure in place.
Talk us through the late nights involved in designing this Turbo Levo. Did you have any late nights?
Absolutely.
Or was it simply a 9-to-5 job?
No, absolutely not. I mean, all the late nights, basically what happens is you only have like so much time to design like the outer skin of that bike, and of course we want it to be like beautiful, supple, and etc. And like, of course we sweat all the details. We go over, that edge doesn't feel good, like that doesn't look right, etc. That it's going to be very difficult to mold.
Yeah.
That might not be as robust and as stiff as we want. So like every time, one more detail, and just like, yeah, as you said, hours add up.
Let's talk about weight, because the mountain bike industry loves to talk about optimum. Everywhere you go, optimum this, optimum that. Do you think we are getting close to an optimum weight of an e-bike? Because when I ride an e-bike, I really like the feeling, the grip, that 19 kilos, 20 kilos, it's holding those corners really well. So,
and plus it's damned, like it acts like a big panorama. It's actually sometimes it's actually scary the speeds you can go with one of those e-bikes, right? Yeah. I would say we're getting somewhere good. I don't think we're there yet entirely, but like we're really, really close, I think.
At 700 watt hours, the new Levo battery is one of the largest capacity batteries on the market, meaning it's increased the range of this bike by up to 40%. And that means a ride for about 1 hour to 7 hours if you've got the energy. Jan Talavasek is the Director of Engineering on the Levo. Jan, this is the kind of stuff we were dreaming about a couple of years ago, right?
Absolutely. We've all been in the situation where you want to do 1 or 2 more laps and you ran out of battery and you had hope like a little more and you could have done that additional trail.
Yeah. But now you're gonna have to have a lot of energy to be using this battery, right?
One of the jokes we keep saying is your ass hurts before that battery is empty. So good luck draining this one. It's got plenty of juice.
Yeah. Talk about the development process of this battery. What were the challenges about getting that into the down tube?
Obviously, you can always add more cells, but one of the big goals here is to add the cells at the right place on the bike, like the center of mass, center of gravity. You want the bikes to remain nimble. Yeah. You don't want a battery that creates a gigantic large down tube. Like the aesthetics of the bike are super important.
And there's plenty of them without that.
There's plenty of them. But also, when designing this, there's aspects like you want the battery to be removable. Like it was one of the things where it's like, okay, not everybody can charge the bike at home. He needs to take the battery out, etc. And also, like last but not least, it's actually overarching is the safety and the functionality of everything. Where there are certain limits how close you can squeeze the cells together by not like creating any dangerous situation. We've got to keep a very safe and healthy battery pack.
Battery management system. Talk us through that.
Battery management system, very, very important. So within the battery, you have the cells. They provide you the energy, the capacity. But you want to make sure that the way they're drained and the way they're charged, it's constantly monitored by a pretty complex computer system that's inside. So we're making sure that the cells are balanced. We're making sure that there is no situation like an undervoltage, overvoltage, undercurrent, etc. We're making sure that the temperature is always in the sweet spot. What that gives you is ultimately an extremely safe battery, and it also gives you a battery pack that lasts very, very long. For instance, when there is a situation where the battery might be too cold because you kept it outside in Siberia overnight and you want to ride in the morning, or it's too hot because you kept it in your Fiat in the sun outside, we are actively reducing motor power to make sure that the battery stays extremely healthy throughout the lifetime.
And you talked about how important it is that the connection between the battery and the motor, right? How they talk to each other. That must be a difficult part.
That's the part that we play here in the office really well. The battery specifically at the end of the charge, say the last 10, 15, 20%, there's a lot of communication between the battery and motor. You want to really make sure that you get the last little juice out of the battery to get the extra capacity.
Get you home.
To get you home, or to get one more trail in, one more loop in. Yeah. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you don't discharge too low, because that could cause a permanent damage to the battery. Yeah. And this game between squeezing it empty and keeping it healthy and safe, we're playing really well.
700 watt hours, people are going to be thinking, oh my God, the down tube is going to be absolutely massive, right?
Absolutely, and it's not.
What is it then? Is it smaller?
If you look at the down tube, it's actually like 10-12% smaller than the previous version of the first version of the Levo. So we're pretty proud. We added 40% and made the down tube even smaller. Yeah.
And how did you test for the range of this battery? That must have been very complicated. I heard these numbers: 2,500 meters of climbing, 6 hours riding. How on earth did you work that out?
There's boring tests where you plug this thing into a machine in a discharge box and you just run it, and then you just watch the numbers going up. That's boring. Yeah. There is the more fun test where we believe a lot in data acquisition, where we have the whole data acquisition mounted to the bike and we record everything. And then we do also specific rides where we tell our employees to go out and ride, and then today you're going on eco mode, don't touch it and
Jan,
go.
I like that, where you just say, you tell your employees to go out and ride. Are you telling me you've not been out riding as well?
I do it as well, of course, but at some point I can't do all the riding. I'm a big fan of data acquisition. When it comes to data, that's me. Yeah. When it comes to just drain the battery, that's our colleague Victor. He's the guy hanging out for 7 hours in the snow and in eco mode and just climbing for 2,500 meters.
It strikes me that there's a lot of people here, even though this is an e-bike R&D facility, there seems to be a lot of pretty fit people in this building, right?
And interestingly, by adding e-bikes, we got even fitter. You may wonder why. I think one of the main reasons is we're riding more often. Like before, there was like a rest day. Now we can actually ride, and the amount of rides we're doing, and we remain competitive.
Marco, flex versus stiffness, it's a huge subject, and it is crucial to the grip of the tyres and the comfort when you ride your bike. How difficult was it when it came to getting the sweet spot when on the Levo, on an e-bike?
It was really, really difficult. At the very beginning, we decided to have a battery coming from the bottom, and we basically cut the down tube almost in half and let a big opening for the battery to go in, which was a challenge because the frame was not stiff.
Must have been comfortable, though.
It was comfortable. It was hard to keep your line, you know, it was like going off. So what we did, we increased wall thickness at the first generation to make it stiff again, but that makes it heavy, right? So to come up with an idea to integrate a battery without cutting a down tube in half was the challenge, right? To package it all in a frame and keep it stiff.
Let's talk about alloy. I mean, you've got alloy Levos and you've got carbon ones. From a consumer point of view now, why would you choose one over the other?
Well, you know, first of all, alloy is a very nice material, right? Yeah. The challenge behind alloy is how to make it light. Yeah. And we were challenged to make an alloy frame as light as the previous carbon frame, and we achieved that goal. So if you're on a lower budget scale and you want a beautiful lightweight bike, alloy would be it, right? If you have a bit more money to spend and you want an even stiffer frame, obviously carbon is stiffer, carbon has more compliance, then you go for a carbon frame.
Now, at the heart of the Levo is Specialized's new 2.1 motor, which they've done in collaboration with Bros. It's lighter, it's more compact, it's more powerful and more efficient than ever before, which means that Specialized have made one of the most stealth e-bikes on the market. Why Bros? Could have been Bosch, could have been Yamaha, could have been anybody really. How did that all happen? I mean, did someone just come knock on your door from Bros or what?
Well, we talked to everyone, right? We talked to every player, and Bros basically delivered the motor only what we wanted. Bros was open to talk to us about things we wanted to change within the housing, things we wanted to change within the firmware. And they were very cooperative, listening to us and making changes to what we like to be changed.
So, having ridden the new motor, it's smooth and it's quiet. So, what makes it efficient?
From a perspective of noise, what it makes it efficient for that is the belt drive, right? There's a belt in there which basically takes a lot of the vibration and the electric noise out of the system before it hits your spider, which obviously goes right into the cranks. So the efficiency comes out of a different gear setup.
And also it's in sync with the chassis of the bike as well, right? That helps to make it more efficient, surely.
Yeah, the motor itself is just a motor, right? How you build it into the frame makes the bike complete. And with that, we came out with these new motor mounts, which allows us to make the frame a lot lighter and easier to assemble.
Marco, we were out in Croatia. We rode some ridiculously steep hills. This new motor is 90 Newton meters. I could see some people struggling with the power on the hill, but are we on the border of maybe too much power? How much is too much torque? How much is too much power?
Well, there's never too much power, I think, depending on the rider skills. And with that, we allow you to change the power, right? We have infinite tune. We have different modes. We have eco mode, trail mode, turbo mode. I don't tell you to ride turbo mode if you cannot handle it, Jonesy. You know, if you feel better in trail mode, just ride it uphill on trail mode. That's what I do. So sometimes, you know, when it gets technical, trail mode you're much better off.
Yeah. So you think 90 Newton meters is on the sweet spot now?
I think it's actually on the sweet spot, yeah, because, you know, in Switzerland we have some of those nasty long climbs on lame fire roads, just getting it done to get to the trail. And on those, you just want to blast up the hill. So there you can use all the power.
The Specialized approach has always been about simplicity rather than a cockpit cluttered with cables, controls and relays. The new Levo has moved the display, the TCU, onto the top tube, which makes this bike totally stealth.
Well, that goes back to the very first generation of Levo. And back in the days, there was like the battle on the market, like who can make the biggest cockpit and game consoles and the handlebar, and we came from not the game industry. We're like by heart, we're mountain bikers. And when you see our normal trail bikes, how we're equipped on the handlebar, we want it stealth, we want it clean, with the most minimal impact on the aesthetics and just how it looks. So we mountain bikers, we were like convinced from the beginning, keep it really, really, really clean. Of course, there were battles within the company. Certain people like, the salespeople, right now, like there is the so-and-so with a 5-inch display, it's got 7 million colors and touch. We gotta have the same, we gotta have more. And we said no. So in the end, like often at Specialized, let the rider decide and let the trail decide.
Dom says this bike is smarter than ever before. Is that sales or is that actually true?
I hate saying that, but Dom's right. Usually we argue, Dom is right. It's the whole connectivity, modularity, and like of the Levo is pretty unique, and we've expanded even more to where we were in the past.
It's to do with what you've got in your hands there, right?
Absolutely.
Those are the component parts.
It absolutely starts with the TCU, our top-tier display. We moved all the connectivity, the smartness in that small little black device. That's kind of the brain of the Levo.
Really?
Absolutely. It doesn't look like a brain, it looks like a brick.
That is the brains of the Levo?
That is the brain of the Levo. So that is what keeps all communication, all the smartness together, where the motor information comes, the battery information comes. But at the same time, it also communicates via ANT, plus to optional components on the handlebar. It communicates via Bluetooth to our mission control app, and there's a lot of smartness in this little thing.
Mission control has always been a key part of the Specialized experience, whether during the ride or after the ride, analysing your data. So mission control is all new, ground up, more features, more intuitive. Talk us through those features on it. I mean, shuttle mode, why did you need shuttle mode?
Shuttle mode is an interesting one. We knew that the motor was extremely powerful, but we had certain riders claiming they don't get the full power. So what we realized is that they don't get to full power, specifically at higher cadence, because they're just not putting enough torque into the torque sensor of the motor that we can amplify afterwards. Right. So what shuttle mode allows you as a rider is to get to maximum support at higher cadence a whole lot easier.
Right. And what about smart control? What's that all about?
Smart control is a very unique feature that we're extremely proud of, because essentially, yes, you can shift between modes, but aren't we all dreaming of that mode you set and forget and you just enjoy the ride?
Some people
do. You basically on smart control, you set a duration of the time you want to ride. You say, okay, I want to ride for 2 hours, and after 2 hours, I want to have 20% battery left. You do that on your smartphone, you hit start and you put the phone away. From that moment, the phone takes over the control over your consumption and your support, and all you do is ride. And after your 2 hours, guess what? You will be at 40%.
And finally, infinite tune. That's mind-boggling, right?
Infinite tune enables the rider to tune the Levo exactly for their ride. Whether you want 3 different turbo modes, you want 3 different eco modes, you want the trail mode to be slightly adjusted, like the ability to tune each mode in all kinds of direction. We have people that do long rides, and they do nothing but long rides. So they never touch trail, they never touch turbo. So they set their modes up in 3 different eco modes, on 10, 20, 30% of maximum power. Or for certain people, like we just mentioned earlier, the turbo mode is too powerful. They just cap off the last little torque on the turbo mode to basically make the bike fit their trail riding.
A brief look then into the nerve center of the Turbo Levo here in Switzerland. But remember, it's not just these guys here. This bike has had global development from Asia to North America. You know, people that have been involved in such things as the tires and the wheels and the manuals for mission control, bars and stems. So there's a lot of people have got their hands on the new Specialized Levo. However, it's actually how this bike handles is what's really important. So let's go and have a look into the hills above Cham to see where this bike was born. Wow, 5 hours in the hills south of Zurich with the Specialized team that are behind the development of this bike. Really competitive guys, really talented guys when it comes to skills on their bike. It's really easy to see why this bike was conceived in this alpine area, really challenging terrain, really big terrain. If you want to see more in-depth story on the Specialized Levo, there's a video we did here on the launch. Yeah, please give us a thumbs up on this video and yeah, subscribe to EMBN if you're not already done so.